This is not Minecraft, it's my Voxel game that I've been making in C++ for the past 5 years. But why? Why would I spend 5 years making something that already exists? Well, it was fun. Very fun actually. But now that I'm so far in development, I'm planning to release this game on Steam eventually. But there is a problem. Why would anyone play my game when you have Minecraft? I need to bring some new things to the crafting table. Something that you can't just get in Minecraft by installing a mod. Is that even possible though? Let me tell you, I already have some plans to do that. One of them is to add a way better world generator. And at the core of the gameplay, I want to have epic dungeons that players will get to explore over and over. The coolest thing in Minecraft in my opinion is finding things like a mineshaft, but they are very rare and quite simple. Not to mention that you can easily cheese any game challenge, so I found a way to fix that in my game. And also, you know how loot in Minecraft is very bad? And how can you give good loot to the player when he's already in endgame and has good gear? Well, I found a fix for that too. And I want to get this dungeoning mechanic to the next level with my game, with more and better dungeons. Right now though, I don't have anything, so we have to start from zero. But how does Minecraft generate these dungeons anyway? Well, if you have ever played the game, you probably noticed that some parts of the dungeon repeat. That is always the same, and all of these rooms are actually all the same. Minecraft has some predetermined hand-built rooms that it can take and piece together to create the dungeon. So I plan to make my first dungeon type, something like this Lego set here. I will have rooms that I will hand-build, and then I will have corridors. So I can start from one room and randomly place corridors and rooms. Back to my game. I need some place to build dungeon rooms and corridors. So let's create a super flat one that's easy enough to implement in code. I will just fill the world with some grass and dirt blocks if I have the super flat world flag. Now let's start with something simple to test things. I made this simple goblin tower that I would like to spawn in game. But how will I save it? Well, I made this special block that I can use to save structures. I can give it a size and I can nicely see a display of it. Then I can give it a name and click save. Not gonna lie, it took me like an entire day to implement this block. This block has some extra data unlike a normal block, so I had to implement some new features on the server to synchronize all of this data with the server and other players, and then also save the info in the world data and load it back. But it was totally worth it. Not to mention that with this feature in place, it was extremely easy to implement chests, something very important in any successful dungeon crawler game. Now, with that, I can easily make some goblin towers spawn randomly in the game. And I also made these small abandoned houses that might remind you of the houses from Terraria. My game will actually be a combination of Minecraft and Terraria, so this is a little Easter egg homage to Terraria. Speaking of Terraria, you might have noticed that the inventory starts to look very similar to it. I have special slots for coins, for ammo, and for accessories, and I even started to implement some of them. Back to building. Next I want to make a tavern. A tavern will always be close to the spawn, and will host NPCs, loot and other things. But if you look inside, it is quite empty and sad. Now, in Terraria, there are a lot of furniture pieces that you can find, so I want to do the same to make my taverns way cooler. And this can actually also solve a fundamental gameplay problem. I want to place exploration at the center of my game. Players would explore to find buildings with cool and useful loot inside. But what do you do when the player already has very good tools? They won't have any reason to explore. Well, not the level 1 structures at least for sure. And that's a shame, isn't it? I want players to find joy in discovering early game structures, even in late game, and find cool stuff inside. One way to solve this is to have very rare pieces of furniture, so that players that already have very good weapons and gear still have a reason to explore structures for rare valuable decorative items. This is a big problem with Minecraft. Like, the loot in dungeons is just very bad, so in my game, besides money, weapons and resources, I want to give players cool rare collectibles, like furniture, paint colors and much more. And I'm even planning to add useful resources, like wood and coins. I'm not a fan of grinding in games, so what if, instead of having to chop down an entire forest, you could just find big amounts of wood, just by exploring the world? But how can I add custom geometry to my game? The blocks and other simple geometry things, like stairs, are all hard-coded. I know it sounds bad, but it wasn't that bad. Well, it took me one day to hard-code the stairs, but that's fine. At least this allowed me to implement some nice optimizations. But there's no way I'm hard-coding something like this. Fortunately, there is a program called Blockbench that allows you to model assets, and then you can export them in various formats. Now, I already can load models in-game, but it's a little harder with blocks. You see, people usually send 3 vertices to render one triangle. I have a very cool optimization that allows me to render an entire face with only a single vertex. very fast and very compact. Check this video for details. But the drawback is that I can only draw predefined rectangular faces. So once I load the model as triangles, I then use some ChatGPT code to convert it back to rectangular faces. Next, I save those faces to my big buffer of shapes, and only then I can display those in game. Now, I spend more days than I'd like to admit, going to sleep at 5 AM to model and paint all of these furniture pieces. But with that, I added a ton of cool models, including wine stuff, food, and some chairs, and the tavern really looks alive with all of these things. Enough of that though, let's implement the dungeon. Looking back at this Lego dungeon again, I will keep things very simple. Each room can have places where chests can spawn and goblins can spawn, and then each room can be connected in all 4 directions, allowing me to also freely rotate them. I started from an empty room, and then an empty hallway as templates, and then I started to decorate them. I'm going for this general vibe, so this will be some sort of a wine cellar type of thing. And by the way, it will be full of secrets, and I mean full of secrets. Now, to not make things repetitive, I made a ton of rooms. For future dungeons, I will split things into further, even smaller segments, but for now, I think this approach is good enough. So, how do I generate a dungeon? Well, first of all, I start in code from a special starting hallway. This hallway will have stairs to the surface. Then, I can randomly place hallways or other rooms, remembering every time what empty place I have, so I know where I can add more rooms or hallways. Finally, once I am done, I will plug all the empty places, so that the dungeon doesn't have random holes in it. Trying the code for the first time, there are quite a ton of holes and not that many rooms. And it's also like very dense. So I tweaked the code to spam less holes and also make the dungeon expand more. And I also added a very small chance to spam rooms beside rooms and holes beside holes for more variety. Before I show you inside, this is one type of dungeon, but I will have many others as well. For example, this tower is made of random individual segments, and you have to climb up and fight enemies until you reach the top. And you know how in Minecraft you can just cheese the dungeons? Well, all dungeons in my game will be made with special unbreakable blocks, so there is no way to cheat them. And because I can paint blocks, I think I will be okay for now, with only using these limited block types. I think this is very cool, because it allows me to combine the building aspect with the dungeon crawling and looting aspect. But with that, let's look inside the dungeon. I made the game, so there is always a tavern with the dungeon close to spawn. The plan is to have an NPC here, give you a quest to clear his wine cellar of goblins. But I have a lot more to implement until I get there, including the combat system. Now, I know that right now this is not much more than Minecraft, with some world generator mod installed. But so far, I have spent all of my time implementing the, let's say, core engine of this game, like multiplayer or rendering. But now that all of the basics are 90% done, I can finally start working at unique gameplay features and mechanics. So subscribe to not miss out on how this project evolves. I really need your help to get 100k subscribers by the end of the year, and check out these cool optimizations I made for this project.